And we are live, whether you like it or not. This is the Transitional Champion podcast. I, of course, am Dirt and joined, as always, by the main man, Nickelback loving Nate. What's up, Nickelback loving Nate?
Why would you do that?
Is that not accurate?
Well, what's worse, Nickelback or current WWE? Still Nickelback.
Yeah, well, it's like it's close.
I don't like Nickelback. We're gonna go through this whole thing now, where people that listen to this show.
I'm not a fan of Nickelback either, but I have on occasion heard a song and not wanted to kill myself. And I love the meme of where they say, "Look at this photograph," and they take out photo, and so he says, "Look at this graph," and he's just holding a graph.
Yeah,
like a bar graph. Like,
but Emily likes My Little Pony, and those are back there. And people mail me My Little Ponies now because they think I like it. So now that you're throwing out that I like Nickelback, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, everybody, feel free to send in CDs, DVDs, VHS cassettes, live sets, T-shirts.
Ugh. Nickelback
headbands,
live.
hats, posters. If you got Nickelback posters, you can just send them to the Pop Culture Network, and we'll make sure they make it to Nate.
Well, Dirt has turned heel.
Was there ever any doubt?
I mean, I gotta be like Sting. I gotta be like aloof and be like, oh yeah, Ric Flair, yeah, we're friends. Okay, everybody turns on Sting, by the way. Everybody.
Well, but I mean, Sting even turned at one point, so
that was bad.
It was a mistake.
Yeah,
but they did it.
Yeah,
like the one time Stone Cold joined with Vince McMahon.
I don't want to talk about that. I hate that ending of WrestleMania 17.
Although that was a great WrestleMania,
it was,
generally speaking,
but I hated how it ended.
Yeah.
Every time. That's such a sore spot for me. Tyler would tell you I came into school the next day and was just pissed off about it. I'm like, why are they doing this thing? And then you saw what it led to, and that was also bad. And then a lot of that was sort of like the beginning of the end, really. People just started tuning out en masse, and it's just been like a downward ever since.
Except not really. WWE has hit a point where their level, like they're so mainstream everywhere, that their overall brand awareness and viewership is kind of up. Because before you had like a really hardcore set of fans that would buy anything, watch anything, play any video game, whatever, and now there's a much wider audience of people that maybe watch once a month or twice a month, and you think, well, they're not really dedicated, but there's a lot more of those people. So anyway,
it's
one of the things that they do with the business.
They've played it in a way that's made them what was it, last year or the year before was the most profitable year for the company ever, and that's kind of hard to really think about just considering how popular it was back then. But with the brand recognition and spreading everything out and blah blah blah, then it all makes sense. But
and part of that's also like the TV deals and things like that, and but subscribership for the network still keeps going up, so they keep getting more subscribers
and
somehow.
The Saudi Arabia shows, which they
made money hand over fist.
Yeah, man. But you don't see it on the TV screen, and that's what's important, and that's what we're here to talk
about. So anyway, before we get started, though, I want to say something real quick. I think it was 2 weeks ago we just mentioned Matt Hughes briefly on the show, and I got a lot of rabble on Twitter and stuff. People talking about he's a terrible human being and blah blah blah. And did you read his book and whatever? And no, I didn't read his book, but I remember it being a thing because he grew up in Hillsboro, Illinois, which is like a half hour, 20 minutes from here. So it was very much a thing. People talked about it, and a lot of the stuff I know that people to this day still accuse him of is stuff taken out of context from the book. Because, I did go in Barnes & Noble one time and kind of flip through and kind of look at some of the stuff. And yeah, I mean, he definitely made mistakes in his life, and, who hasn't and whatever. But some of the stuff, he worked on a farm Okay, so there are people going, he was cruel to animals. He took a pig and cut off its testicles. Yeah, that's farming. Like, people do that. That's how you control the population. Castration of a pig is kind of a,
they either do it that way or tie a rubber band around them,
right?
Let them just fall off.
And then one time he talked about gutting a pig, and people were like, "That's what serial killers do to animals." And it's like, no, that's what serial killers do to neighborhood cats. This was, again, he wasn't gutting a pig just to have fun on a Friday afternoon. He was making dinner. Like, it's a little different when you live on a farm. And then, like, he went big game hunting. So he went to some African country and paid like thousands of dollars to go on this hunt, because they're only allowed to kill certain animals of a certain size in a certain area to help control the population. It's part of conservation. It's been going on for, several hundred years. And so he paid to go on one of these trips, and people are like, I can't believe he'd go kill those animals. And it's like, well, they're going to get killed anyway to control the population. And when he goes out, he kills them. He gets the trophy. He can take the pelt home, and all the meat gets cut up and given to the locals, goes in the food shelter or whatever. So, like, it's not like, awful, terrible stuff. But he was in a car accident. He did get hit by a train in his truck, and they thought he would never walk again. He was in a coma. They thought he'd never wake up. Long time he was in the coma. He came out of the coma, went into rehab, started walking, and everybody said his personality changed after that coma. Like, he woke up and he was just different. Like, his brain worked differently. It's hard to describe it. His entire personality was different. Last week, his brother and his wife, it came out, they had filed restraining orders against him because he just has these personality snaps where he can be fine 1 minute and the next minute he's violent. And you're talking about a guy who's a former MMA fighter, probably some concussions, maybe some Chris Benoit issues that we're dealing with here, and come out of the coma. He may snap and think he's in the middle of a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the guy definitely has issues, but he's not Hitler. You know what I mean? He's not Jeffrey Dahmer out there, killing neighborhood dogs.
You're going to have to jog my memory, though. When did we mention him a couple weeks ago?
Because he was at a wrestling show. I was talking about how he came to a wrestling show one time.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And me not being an MMA guy, I have no idea who he was, but he had the belt. He had the championship belt, and everybody could like hold it and wear it and whatever. And you're just like, wow, this is actually kind of cool. And nice guy, shook everybody's hands, hung out with people. So,
don't mess with the brain stuff. That goes in a whole set of territory that when terrible things happen, a lot of people they want to blame it on this and that. I'm like, we need to we need to focus more on mental health.
Yeah, people who suffer clinical depression, like, it's not something you can just be like, hey, your life's pretty good, snap out of it, and they'll go, oh my gosh, you're right. It's like something in the brain doesn't work.
Yep.
And so it's a different issue.
We'll just ignore that entirely.
Yeah, well, we'll just act like he's responsible for everything that he does, even though he thinks he's in Vietnam and he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question for you, just popped up in the chat. What was the worst WrestleMania in your opinion?
Man, that's obviously 9 is up there. The Caesar's Palace one, where Hogan comes in and beats Yokozuna at the end.
I thought that was 10.
No.
What was
10? 10 was the one where Bret Hart beat Yokozuna. Like, Lex Luger had a match earlier on,
so
too.
10 is, because that's what I was thinking. You said Caesar's. I was thinking Caesar. I was thinking that when they were outside and everybody was in the togas and everything like that.
Yeah, that one was 9. 10 was I want to say 10 was Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
Okay. See, that's what I was thinking was 10 was that one. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I don't know. I go for the Sergeant Slaughter turning heel one.
Yeah.
Where they went from the LA Coliseum with, seats for 50,000 people to, I don't know, it was like a high school gym or something.
Yeah, bomb threats, man.
Yeah,
bomb threats.
That one was pretty bad.
I would say some of the recent ones, just because like a lot of matches and it goes on for about 13 hours. Nine's the one that really sticks out to me.
Yeah.
And I guess some people if they were to go back and watch like the first.
No.
Oh no, no,
First was great.
I'm saying some people would probably look at that
Well,
because
those people are wrong.
well, I could see a lot of people going back and watching like older WWF and just being like, oh, it's kind of boring. I'm like, yeah, that's why, you know, a lot of people enjoyed NWA, which is why I always kind of gravitated towards it more, because back then WWF always seemed like just huge dudes, and it's like matches were slower, whereas like NWA you get like Flair and Steamboat going out there for like an hour. So
yeah, but I also say I still miss squash matches. I miss a good squash. Just having the guy come out, do his entrance. He gets the full 5-minute entrance, comes out, does whatever, cuts the promo. The little guy runs up, 90 seconds, beats him, does the full celebration, and gets to leave. It's still, you know, a big segment, but the actual match is short, and the guy just gets to show off. I miss those segments.
I miss those as well, but
what happens? Modern wrestling.
Yeah, modern wrestling.
All right, so Raw and SmackDown. Raw. If you haven't heard yet, perhaps somehow you've been able to stay away from everything social media and whatever online. Roman Reigns is back.
Yep,
and he made his return here on Raw, and basically came down and said that his leukemia is in remission, and they beat it, and yay. So, and it's, you know, it's funny. Like, I knew he was going to be on the show, so I knew there was some sort of announcement. And it's like, he's either going to come out and he's going to weigh 125 pounds and say, I got 6 weeks to live and let's all raise money for leukemia. Or he was going to come out looking absolutely no different and be like, it's gone, we beat it, and they're going to set up a match for WrestleMania.
Well, he's been gone since what, October? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, something like that.
So we're looking at encroaching on 6 months. And I don't want to make light of the disease or anything at all, but it's like, this is what it took for fans to finally get behind him. That's kind of bad, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. But you know, also
we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, it's how long until he takes somebody's spot. You know what I mean? Because that's what everybody hated in the first place. Like, people really didn't care Roman Reigns one way or another. But then when it was like, well, Daniel Bryan, or I think first it was Rey Mysterio, maybe. I don't remember, but there's like someone was supposed to have a spot in something, and then they had Roman Reigns beat him, so Roman Reigns got the spot, and everybody freaked out, and that started everybody hating him because.
Well, I mean, people liked him when he was still in the Shield, and it was like natural. Like when he was in the Rumble and he was tossing people out, people were digging it. But I think it's just once the fans know that the machine is behind the guy and not them,
well, that's
when
what
they
it was,
really just don't like it.
Yeah, because it wasn't organic.
Yeah.
It's one thing when they like the guy, they're cheering for him and he starts winning and picking up steam. But it was another thing when it was just like, okay, this other guy you like, we're going to shove him aside and put Roman Reigns in his place. And then everybody turned their back on him.
It's funny how we're talking about that, and we're kind of getting a similar situation over on SmackDown.
SmackDown,
when we get to that.
And once again, SmackDown was the better show.
Yeah.
From top to bottom.
I mean, that 2 hours, having that one less hour,
you know, but the other thing I wonder, because it's not the flagship show, I wonder if it's not micromanaged as much as Raw.
Oh yeah.
So the people on SmackDown get a little more flexibility. I mean, there's still some bad stuff on there. There's still some dumb stuff on there, obviously, but overall, it just feels like a much more energetic show, whereas Raw feels so structured and so nailed down, and it follows the same pattern week after week after week after week.
Yeah, it's kind of almost been that way. It was even more so when they were taping it and SmackDown wasn't live every week. I've seen it in plenty of like when Punk went and did the Straight Edge Society over on SmackDown. Like, he loved that because it wasn't micromanaged all the hell. Yeah.
I will note at the end of this, Roman Reigns went out and he was like, he kissed his wife and he was signing autographs for people and whatever.
Yeah.
And then Seth Rollins' music hit. Seth came out and the two of them posed on stage. No Dean Ambrose. So they're like, you're leaving. It's not even worth having you be a part of this.
Man, yeah, that Shield reunion that they've tried to pull off these last couple of years. It's like Dean gets hurt, and then Roman gets leukemia.
well, I mean, you can't really. I mean,
Well,
you know,
or it
Dean
comes
just gets
back.
sloppy sometimes. You can't really blame somebody for getting leukemia. You
Mm,
know, it's like,
I know, but there is a part of me too that's like, what if this was all a conspiracy just to get Roman over finally?
yeah, and the thought, it is WWE.
It's a
The
terrible
thought
thing
has
to say,
crossed
but
my mind.
It's Vince
It is
McMahon.
possible. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, when Stephanie was pregnant, he wanted to run an angle where it was his kid. I'm like, yep, all right, sure. So
And,
yeah,
and you're saying that that's not money? You're saying that's not a good
God, Katie Vick, 2 words, Katie Vick.
that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. So next up, we got Aleister Black and Ricochet versus the Revival in a non-title match
this pissed me off.
because it was non-title.
No, because you have a team that's like, hey, we don't like how we're being used. We feel like we have more to offer. Will you release us from our contract? No. Okay. Here we're gonna put the titles on you. Okay, great. Maybe this will be like our push. We'll find. Oh yeah, no. The 2 matches you're gonna have after you've won the titles, you're gonna lose them. That's gonna make you look real strong. Makes you good look for the champs.
I get the feeling that they're losing these matches. They're going to set up a match at Fastlane. It'll probably be the 3 teams: Ricochet, Aleister Black, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, and the Revival. They'll do it as a 3-way for the championship, and that's where Revival's going to win. And it's like they lose on TV to set up the match at the pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view where it counts, that's where they're going to win.
But that still
That's a
makes it.
standard WWE thing.
I
I don't
know,
like
but
it.
I
I don't
hate
like it.
it.
I don't agree with it, but it is a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
God. Because it just you're like, all right, well, they've already lost to these guys, and then like,
Well, but that's part of the
there's
deal. It's like you lose in the non-title match, so you get the title
mm.
match. Yeah.
I hate the 50-50 booking.
Well, that's what WWE does. So anyway, we got Baron Corbin backstage.
Your favorite, Corbin Burnson.
Corbin Burnson. And Corbin, here's the thing. It's like I'm watching the promo that he's doing, and it's like he's not untalented. You know what I mean?
He's good promo.
He's decent. I won't go as far as to say that he's good or he's great or he's an outstanding talent or he's an underutilized diamond in the rough or anything, but he's solid. You know, he's a solid guy, but he's in the dumbest storyline. He's on the dumbest path they have for him, and he goes out there, he makes light of Roman Reigns fighting leukemia, and she's like, well, how can you, he's talking to Charlie and like, well, how can you say that? What happens if, you run into Roman Reigns? And he's like, well, Roman Reigns better not run into me. And then he walks off, and you're just like, this is like, it's not setting up for anything. It doesn't prove anything. It's just bad. Like if there's going to be, and here's the other thing, if it does set anything up, it's going to set up Corbin Burnson versus Roman Reigns, which I don't want to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just, I'm just watching the segment going, this is just death. This is just putting people on TV because you have to fill time, and it's bad, and it shouldn't be on TV. It shouldn't be there.
TV writers, man.
That's WWE.
Well, this kind of works into this. Bruce Pritchard has been brought back into the company, and what they've called like a top role. So I'm assuming he's going to be back to where he was all those years ago, sort of being like one of the right-hand men to Vince McMahon. So maybe he can help.
I mean, the one good thing about Bruce Pritchard is that, from what I've heard, there have been times where he said to Vince, "That's dumb. Don't do it."
Yeah.
And so if he can come back and do that, because that's the one thing that WWE really needs right now is for someone to look at Triple H and Stephanie and Vince and say, this is dumb. Stop doing that. Don't do this. Do something else.
Well, I can see Triple H being frustrated with what he does in NXT every week, and Vince is like, I want to do this. And he's like, okay, whatever you say. Okay.
I don't know. I get the feeling, though, that when it comes to Vince, it's like Vince says it and Triple H does it. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't, he may not like it necessarily, but he won't question it. He won't stand up against it.
Yeah, there needs to be more of that.
So, all right. They announced they're doing, of course, the Ric Flair 70th birthday party. They showed what's his name? Shawn Michaels. I couldn't think of his name. They showed Shawn Michaels. I was like, Higginbottom. What's Higginbottom? Shawn Michaels. They showed him backstage, and he was wearing an NXT hat to show off. He's like, cause he's still friends with Triple H, so he's showing that NXT.
I think he's involved in some way with NXT these days. I don't know if he sort of like coaches a little bit, or if,
I'm sure that's again a Triple H connection.
Yeah, he's doing something down there.
Let's see. We got Elias in the ring, and he was going to play his guitar, and then Lacey Evans came out without Heavy Machinery. So that whole thing with her and Heavy Machinery last week wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I still don't understand what the hell they're doing with her. Like, she does it, and she's doing this on both shows, right? Like,
yes,
she just comes out, waves, and then leaves. Why? Okay, sure.
Because they think she's going to be a big deal. And so this is their way of showing for the fan, the casual fan who's watching, they're like, why is she getting this special treatment? Why does she get to come out and wave and parade and walk back and interrupt other people and get her own segment? She must be somebody. And she's not cutting promos.
Yeah,
that would probably be death.
Well, you remember the Rumble, right? Like, she cut one at the Rumble.
Who was
it was bad.
Well, and Eva Marie, they tried doing a thing with.
Ugh.
And remember how well that went over.
Yeah.
So this is they're trying something different because they think she's going to be big. They thought Eva Marie was going to be the next big thing too. So they were pushing her to the moon and doing all that stuff. So this is their way of trying to do the same thing with Lacey Evans, but without her being annoying,
exposed.
obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it won't turn out well.
All right, so then Elias goes back to getting ready to play, but then Dean Ambrose comes out. And Dean Ambrose, he said, I don't know, he was just in a good mood. He wanted to celebrate. He wanted a rematch against Drew McIntyre. He wanted a no DQ match. Elias is still sitting there like, why are you in the ring doing this when I'm trying to do my segment? So he starts to play again. Dean Ambrose, he's like, is this the Oscars? Are you trying to play me off stage? Which I didn't watch the Oscars. I don't know if that happened to somebody this year, if that's just I know happened in years past, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure it did.
Elias made some crack about how Atlanta can host the Super Bowl, but they can never win it. Because
Yep, cheap heat, yeah.
I guess that's a thing.
Yep.
And then let's see. And then Ambrose started asking, "Can you play some songs?" And he started like, can you play Highway to Hell? Can you play whatever? He goes, "Can you play Dirty Deeds?" I think it's time for some Dirty Deeds. And I guess Elias just doesn't understand that that's the name of his finisher. I guess so. The joke is Elias is dumb. And so Elias, like, he starts like he's going to play and then goes to hit him with the guitar, and Dean Ambrose ducks and hit the Dirty Deeds and celebrated and left. And that was the end of the segment. And again, it was just kind of dumb and there and whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, it just shows that they have nothing really for Elias other than you go out, try to play, people interrupt you. You can have a match against a random person, but we can't put you in a feud. We can't figure out anybody that you have charisma.
Why are we doing this every week? Like, do it every other week or something.
Because they like Elias, apparently. They just don't know what to do with him. So we're just going to put him on TV and keep doing something. And actually, I was thinking about it. I wonder if part of his thing was supposed to be an ongoing feud with Chris Jericho. And then Jericho signs with AEW, and so suddenly Jericho's not on Raw anymore. So suddenly they don't have a thing for Elias to do.
Could be, but I mean, the thing with Jeff Jarrett seemed like it would kind of have legs if you would have played it out right. And they're just like, all right, 2 weeks. Done.
Well, yeah, and Jarrett was never going to come back and wrestle full time.
No, I get that, but I'm saying like
but they could have at least run something maybe for WrestleMania or something.
Yeah.
I know maybe. Jarrett did those 3 matches, and then he's like, you know what? I'm old. I haven't done this for a couple of years. I'm done. It very well could have been.
Hopefully.
I mean, I see, and nothing against Jeff Jarrett. I'm not putting down Jeff Jarrett or anything.
I don't know. I've always, but between his tail end WCW endless championship reigns and then following into the formation of TNA and always having the belt and losing it for a day or two and then getting the belt back, I got sick of him. I got tired of his gimmick.
Yeah, and that's but WWE does the same thing every single
time. Yeah.
I mean, you can't really. I mean, it's whatever. Vern Gagne was champion when he was like 72, because he couldn't trust anybody else to come win in the company. True. So,
yeah.
All right, we had Ronda Rousey and Natalya against the Riot Squad, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan did not get to be an actual participant in the match. She had to stand at ringside.
I'm sure you're okay with that.
I mean, compared to the other two in the ring, I mean, TV visuals, I mean, there are some things to complain about, but anyway, so Ronda Rousey, people again booing Ronda when she came out, getting the boos. The match, like they went to a commercial in the middle of the match, and it was like, I'm trying to remember exactly how it worked out, but it was like they beat up Natalya and Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan outside, and they go to commercial, and then they come back from commercial, and I think Ruby Riott had Natalya in a chin lock and was holding her down. It was like, but she was like, when we went to commercial, Natalya was on the winning side, and then we come back from commercial and it's flipped. Like, don't do that during commercials. Like, you got to keep the momentum during the commercial, and when you come back, you got to switch the momentum.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dirt.
There's something about the flow of matches that needs to follow what you see on television.
Well, and I hate that they've gotten in a pattern here the last few years as well of when a commercial break's going to happen now. You do. Like someone thrown to the outside or what? Commercial break, and then they come back.
Or you get a long interview segment, and then someone does an entrance, and as they come to the ring, you're like, "Oh, we're going to go to commercial now," because they'll go to commercial to let them have a 2-minute entrance to come back and start the match.
Yep.
All right, so then Becky Lynch ran out. She had a crutch. She knocked down Natalya. She started beating Ronda with the crutch. Ronda grabbed the crutch, started beating her with the crutch. 9,000 guys finally jumped out, separated them, pulled apart. And it was funny because Ronda Rousey, she gets the crutch, and she totally looks like, and I've seen this a million times at indie shows, like when someone goes for a chair shot and they've never done a chair shot before, so they're not really sure like how hard to hit, so they just kind of like push it into the person instead of smacking them with it. There's no flick of the wrist. It's like they just straight arm it through. Yeah. And she grabs the crutch and she just kind of like pushes it into Becky instead of smacking. And then Becky grabs it and just turns around and wails her like she's hitting a home run. Like it was just so obvious who has more wrestling awareness and experience when the two of them face off. It's really interesting to see with some of that stuff. But anyway, they had Fit Finlay out there. They had Jamie Noble out there. They had the guy who looked like the in-between between Goldberg and Gilbert. He was out there.
Adam Pearce.
Yeah, that's so Gold, Gil, what's in between I and O? I don't know. Anyway, so they had the police actually grabbed Becky Lynch and they put cuffs on her, and because she was breaking what they'd said that she would get arrested, so she was getting arrested and she was being hauled out in handcuffs.
I like how you could hear her say, "Hey, watch the hands. I need them to hold up the women's title or whatever."
Well, and she also said something like, "Have you seen the way that they stole my women's title? You should be arresting them for theft." Which I thought was another good line that she threw out that nobody heard. It was just picked up by a random crowd mic.
Yeah.
So I almost called Atlanta to see if I could post bail. Becky Lynch, but anyway.
What a mark.
So they go to commercial again. They come back again, and they had Natalya, and she was helping Ronda Rousey up the ramp, and the officials were up there helping her out. But then Ronda grabbed the title belt, and she goes back down to the ring, and she grabs the microphone, and she's pissed off, and she's like, Vince, I want you to come out right now. I want to face Becky at WrestleMania, make the match. It's the right thing to do. Come down and do it now. And, of course, Vince doesn't come out. We get Stephanie.
Your promo sounds better than hers, man.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Like, Ronda, in this promo, it was almost like she was on the verge of tears, and it was not the verge of tears like you're so angry that you're emotional. It really sounded like you're on the verge of tears. You're so, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but you're so like fear of public speaking, like whatever the term is for, like, if there's a one word term for fear of public speaking, it was like she was almost like, whatever this promo was, she was very uncomfortable cutting it. She wasn't like, it wasn't well rehearsed, or they didn't give her enough direction, or whatever it was. And so she flubbed her words a lot. She would start a sentence and get 2 or 3 words into it and then stop and start over again. So again, I don't know what the deal was, but it really wasn't good for television. But anyway, Stephanie came down and she was like, well, like, we told her, like, we said if she came back that this is what would happen. So Ronda's getting in her face and she's like, no, you got to change it. You got to do this. And Stephanie is like, we made the rules. Like, we are the ones in charge here. We made the rules. And Ronda said, you don't own me. I am not your worker. She said, she held up the belt and she goes, this is supposed to represent the best. I'm supposed to be the best, which means I have to fight the best. You should be making the match among the best. And if that's not what this stands for, then this is not my belt and whatever. And she laid it out right in front of Stephanie, and she turned and walked her out of the ring and went up the ramp. So it just left Stephanie standing there in the ring with the belt laid out before her.
I think that works.
That was an interesting way to end it. And it's one of those where it's like, on the one hand, you feel like it kind of disrespects the belt, even though it says, she's trying to say that this belt needs to represent the best. And then she says it doesn't, which is like, you're not supposed to do that. But then at the same time, if they redeem it by then setting up that match, and then that's what the belt does stand for, then it'll work out. But with the way WWE has flubbed a lot of things, I'm just afraid that it's just going to devalue the belt again. It's going to be like the belt is secondary to the actual feud, which is a mistake.
Yeah. I could see him doing that. I could also see him, it would have been funny if Vince would have come out and just been like, all right, well, she's not the champion anymore. Here's your new champion. Then Charlotte comes out and Charlotte's just the champion. That's just handed to her.
Yeah. Well, like I said, WWE has a problem with some of these things.
Yeah.
All right. We had a Steve Austin video package. We had Stephanie and Triple H talking backstage, holding the women's belt. We cut to the ring. We got Jinder Mahal, greatest WWE heavyweight champion of all time.
Yeah. God, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten he was still with the company, to be honest. Like, I hadn't seen him in a while.
WWE champion. Jinder
and they didn't reform 3-man band, so he's useless as far as I'm concerned. I've been told in the chat that the fear of public speaking is glossophobia.
Huh.
So there you go, glossophobia.
There we go.
That's what she had.
That's the word for the day.
Although you're not afraid of gloss, so why is it called glossophobia? What's the fail of glossy nails?
I don't know.
Anyway. All right. So then he, blah, 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 Ric Flair, dumb, whatever. So then Kurt Angle came out to avenge him. They had a match. It was short. It was just a couple minutes. And basically, Jinder Mahal, former world champion from like a year ago, and he held it for like a year and just lost it like last summer or something like that.
No, we didn't hold it for a year.
He held it for what it felt like a long time.
It felt like a year, but now I gotta look it up. Go on, I'm gonna look it up.
Well, so anyway, he lost in like a couple minutes to the guy who was about to announce his retirement 2 weeks ago. So then the Singh brothers jumped in and attacked him, and Kurt Angle killed both of them too. So and then so then Kurt Angle's in the ring and celebrating his win, and Alexa Bliss comes out, and so then it's like, huh. So Alexa Bliss, I guess, is going to come talk to Kurt Angle and everything, but nope, that was just their transition from Kurt Angle to the Alexa Bliss segment was just having her come out while he's celebrating in the ring and she starts her show. So I don't know what happened to Kurt. I don't know if he slid off on the side, if he jumped through the crowd and went out the back door, if he just sat in the ring and watched everything happening. I have no idea what happened to Kurt at that point. But anyway, did you find
170 days?
Hmm.
But it's weird when you look at the list of champions because he lost it to AJ Styles, who held the title for over a year, and then Daniel Bryan. So he's like, he was 2 champions ago.
But it still feels like he had the belt way too long.
Yeah. Oh, he shouldn't have had it at all. God, I saw that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Jinder Mahal, WWE champion. Oh.
All right, so they had Alexa Bliss. She brought out Finn Balor, talked about beating Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. So then Lio Rush came out and said that, of course, Finn Balor didn't deserve to have the belt. Bobby Lashley deserved to have the belt. And he said, Lio Rush said something about like how he could beat Finn Balor or whatever. It's like, you don't deserve that belt. I should take that belt off of you. And Finn Balor's like, are you asking for a title shot for you to prove that Bobby Lashley should have the belt because you don't think Bobby Lashley's good enough to do it himself? So Lio Rush had to back off, and Finn Balor's like, no, let's do a match now. And Lio Rush didn't want to do it. And finally they convinced Lio Rush. So he goes down to the ring, and then he's like, well, if we're going to do this, go ahead and play my music, which it was so clunky and awkward. And so they played it, and he went down, and they played Finn Balor's music. And the whole time Finn Balor's just sitting in that chair, like on the stage, like he doesn't care, like doing a Dean Ambrose. And then they play his music, and he's like, oh, I guess I have to get up now and go. And it was just so awkward. I don't know what was up with that segment, but
well, it's like with the Moment of Bliss talk show thing. It's the same thing every week. It's like the Elias stuff. There's always an interruption. There's always this. I'm like, you don't have to do this every single week. They have
to do it every single week. It's almost like they have flashcards pinned to a board.
Yeah.
And it's like, who gets this segment? Who gets this segment? And they just kind of move the segments around and plug different people into them. But they don't actually make new segments.
Yeah. Every time we talk about Raw, I legit feel like we're just saying the same things every week about Raw because it's all the same structure and the same feuds with stuff just shifted around, as you said. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
it was oh man, the show. Oh, it doesn't need to be 3 hours.
So then, here's something even better. So Lio Rush and Finn Balor have this match. It goes like almost 8 minutes that they have this match. It wasn't like a 3-minute, like I'm a dominant champion. I'm going to beat up little Lio Rush, who is from 205 Live. It was like an actual contest that went on and on and on until finally Finn Balor beat him, and Michael Cole on commentary was like, he said something like, this is a tough win for Finn Balor. And it's like, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like, what? Who developed this segment?
I mean, if only it would have been non-title, then, Lio Rush would have had a chance.
Yeah, exactly. He can beat him in a non-title match, but when he gets to that pay-per-view,
God.
They had one of the guys from Heavy Machinery backstage in the Ascension, who, if you remember, at one time were going to be a big deal, and then they debuted on Raw and nobody cared.
Yep. Dominant NXT Tag Team Champions moved up to the main roster. Gimmicks are right. Theme song's pretty good. Yep. Let's just have them be goofs and get destroyed by everybody and then disappear from TV for months and months. Oh, hey, here they are. You're supposed to care about these guys. No.
So they did this terrible segment where the Ascension, they're talking to one of the guys from the tall, thin guy. Because
Tucker Knight. I don't know. I miss it. Yeah, they took their last names away. So Tucker.
So Tucker, the man with a dream who built a car, is back there talking to the Ascension, and the Ascension starts saying that your brother is dumb, and he jumps into dumpsters and looks for cheeseburgers, and they make pig noises, and it was like, what? Like they're doing like high school mean girls to this grown man.
Yep.
So of course, then he comes up and he's doing like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the walks and the and tough guy, and so then Tucker tells his brother all the mean things they were saying, and he keeps like the way they had him standing is you had the Ascension standing on one side, and then you had Tucker, and then there was a wall, and so the other brother had to come and squeeze through the wall, so he was standing in front of the other three guys, and so they would say the stuff, and he, instead of like looking back at the people who are behind him, he just like looks forward or turns to the wall. So they say that you go dumpster diving for cheeseburgers, and he was like, what, and he'd look at the wall, blah, what, and keep looking forward, at no time turning around and looking at the guys who were saying the mean things. Again, so awkward and clunky. Like, so
I do like Otis though. I think he's pretty
Otis
funny.
Is that his name? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Shawn Michaels.
So then Otis gets so mad that he pushes both members of the Ascension into a bunch of those black cable boxes, equipment boxes, throws them into those boxes, and they fall over and hold their heads, and they're stunned and whatever, and the heavy machinery stomps off.
And that was it. No match.
Like, all you had to do, like, if they were doing a backstage brawl or a street fight or something, and you threw a guy into the box, they would hit their head and then come back and they can hit you with the clothesline. In this case, if the guys are standing backstage and you throw them into the box, they're out. They're done. Like, that's it. It's over.
And it didn't even
recover from that.
It didn't even lead to anything. There wasn't a match. It was just a segment. Why?
There's always next week. There's always next week. All right. So then let's see. So then again, they recapped Roman Reigns cutting his promo.
In case you missed it.
And then they showed like Newsweek.com, Roman Reigns battles leukemia, whatever. Then they go to Lashley yelling at Lio Rush backstage because he's like, you were supposed to get me a title match, and instead you got one and you lost. And I don't know that I can trust you. And Lio Rush is like, yes, you can. So, oh no, they're putting more dissension between the two of them, even though he attacked him at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they should have saved that. Now it's like they blew their load on that, and now it's like they're backtracking. It just makes Leo look worse, which maybe that's the intention. I don't know. That sucks too. God,
but
man.
It's like you say it makes him look worse, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, how much worse can they make him look?
Yeah, I know.
The whole thing is just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, it's like all he is a toady to Bobby Lashley. Like, he doesn't have a personality anymore. They don't have anything.
Yeah, they did sort of strip that away from him, when they paired him with Bobby Lashley. Because when he came to 205, like with his video packages and everything, like he had a personality. Now he's just Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece who gets beat up by him and doesn't do anything. So Virgil 2.0, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess. Which, I mean, no, that's too mean. I won't go there. But so then they had Bobby Lashley had a match. It was him versus Braun Strowman.
Oh, boy.
Lashley attacks Strowman before the match even begins. The referee calls off the match, pulls them apart. The referee goes to leave. So then Strowman ends up attacking Lashley after the referee is gone. He attacks Lio Rush. And then Strowman just like leaves and poses on the ring, and Bobby Lashley gets up and they stare at each other, and that's the end of the segment.
It just, even recapping this makes me want to hit my head against a wall.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you do? So Ric Flair, they show Ric Flair backstage. He arrived in the limo with, I don't know if this is his new wife or new girlfriend.
Yeah, wife number 9.
Gotta build that collection.
Yep.
Maybe he can get as many wives as he had world championships. Let's see if we can do this.
There's still time.
He's still got some years in him. All right, so then we got a match. We got Drew McIntyre, Dean Ambrose. This is the match that Dean Ambrose wanted. So they get in the ring and they start doing this match, and then Dean Ambrose like pulls off his belt, like he's gonna whip him with the belt.
Oh yeah, he's got 2 belts.
And then it turns out he had a second belt on to keep his pants up, and then he snuck in this other belt so that he could try to attack. And of course, his wife Renee Young is the one who's like, he had 2 belts. He's so smart. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's creative. It was nice.
Yeah, and it was
it's a bright spot of the show so far.
So I mean, he was allowed to have 2 belts, but whatever.
Smart.
So then they fought outside, and they fought with the steps, and I think they threw each other into the table, and so anyway, they're going back and forth, and then Elias comes up and grabs, of course, has his guitar, grabs Ambrose and smashes it over his head. And then they had Baron Corbin come out, and he came out with Bobby Lashley.
Yep.
And so it was Elias and Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley all beating up on Dean Ambrose. So then, of course, that brings out Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And so they come out and they beat everyone up, and we get we get Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They leave and go back up the stage, and they leave Ambrose in the middle of the ring. But Ambrose gets up and looks at them, and they turn around and look at him. And they do this like, yo, bro, we got your back, even though we're not together. And then that was the end of the segment.
Yep.
So it's like the Shield.
It's gonna lead to a match at Fastlane. It's gonna be the Shield getting back together.
Well, it's gonna be 4-on-3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just or 5 with Leo Rush there, or whatever.
Yeah. How many times have we?
Unless no. Here's perfect WWE booking opportunity. Leo Rush is going to turn on Bobby Lashley and
join the Shield.
So then, when Dean Ambrose leaves, it'll be Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Leo Rush in the Shield.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sell more shirts.
All right, Vince. Vince. The paychecks need to go to Dirt at
my PayPal dirt at popculturenetwork.com. So anyway, and they showed, I think at that point they showed the new Roman Reigns T-shirt, which is the 2 R's, but now the bottom of the R's they cross over, and so it looks like an orange ribbon for leukemia.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I mean, like, it's on the one hand, it's like okay, but then on the other hand, it's like, does any of that money go to like the National Leukemia Association or something? Or is this just like Vince going, hey, we'll make it look like a ribbon and we'll sell more shirts?
I'm sure the proceeds, there's probably a cut.
I don't know, because I wouldn't put it past him not to. I wouldn't put it past him to just be like, like make a T-shirt that says, I reigned over leukemia. And you know, and then they give a box to Make-A-Wish Foundation, and you know they sell the rest.
I reigned over leukemia. Oh my! Someone hire this man.
I mean,
you need to be writing a segment.
We've seen a lot worse than professional wrestling, so it could definitely happen.
Put that in Roman's next promo.
I reigned over leukemia. All right. So again, that was another segment that was dumb. They did another fighting for my family thing, which, by the way, I don't know if the fighting with my family, I don't even know how that's done at the box office.
It's certified fresh, sir.
Yeah, well, that means absolutely nothing.
Hey, they put the sticker on the Blu-ray case. All right?
But before The Last Jedi, the critics gave that movie like a 94%.
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, that means absolutely nothing.
Fighting with My Family did $7.8 million, which I mean, not bad, really, when you think about it. I'm sure the budget wasn't too high.
Is it fighting with my family or fighting for my family?
Fighting with My Family.
I'm looking at boxofficemojo.com. Let's see here.
91%.
Domestic total as of February 26th was 9,327,000. But they did not release the production budget, so we don't know if it's.
Yeah, I imagine it couldn't have been too much. It'll be fine. It'll make its money back.
Limited weekend opening was number 41. Wide opening, it became number 4. So it was number 4 at the box office, which is as high as it got. So, all right. Anyway, it's a comedy/drama. So keep that in mind. All right, we got Bailey with Sasha Banks in her corner versus Nia Jax with Tamina in her corner. Of course, they're going to be a tag championship match at Fastlane.
Yay.
This was another 10-minute segment that felt like it was probably 4 hours. They did some sort of thing where Bailey tried to attack Nia Jax. Nia Jax caught her, put her in a tree of woe in the corner, stomped on her, smashed her, hit her with the running hip thing. So Sasha Banks goes over to check on Bailey, and they start doing like this whole maybe she's going to be injured, almost like, is the tag match even going to happen? Because she could be hurt in this match. Is she even going to make it to the tag match? And it's like, they could call it off. I mean, I'm not invested. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Tamina tried to hit Sasha Banks, and Tamina crashed into the steps. Bailey ended up nailing Nia Jax with a diving elbow and got the win. So the one member of the tag team champions beat the dominant member of the tag team competitors to lead into their match at the next pay-per-view.
When is Fastlane again?
Oh, and by the way, I would say actually in that, if it's Bailey and Sasha Banks, I would say Sasha would probably be the dominant member of the team over Bailey.
Yeah.
So you had the non-dominant winner of the title holders beating the dominant force of the contenders. So again, great booking on behalf of this show.
March 10th.
Then they come out. And we go to a break. We come back, and there's only like 8 minutes left in the show or whatever. So this is the Ric Flair birthday segment. They have all the guys standing on the stage. No Way Jose was, for some reason, like right up in front, and he's doing his little dance.
Nobody cares about him. Adam Rose 2.0.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. Yeah. Hey, look, it's modern day Carlito. And then they had Triple H and Stephanie in the ring. And Triple H and Stephanie, they start talking about, it's great what happened to Roman Reigns, and Becky Lynch got arrested, and all this crazy stuff has happened here in Atlanta. But now it's time for Triple H called him the greatest sports entertainer of all time.
No,
and I'm like, dude, just say wrestling. Like, just
can't. Vince won't let you.
Wrestling
Can't.
But see, that's what I mean with, I don't think Triple H stands up to Vince on any of this stuff. And so then they go, but before we do that, here's Shawn Michaels, and then here's Ricky Steamboat, and then here's Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Kurt Angle out of this lineup really sticks out.
I mean, maybe he and Ric Flair became good friends backstage when
maybe, but it just sticks out. Sting is here.
Yeah, and then Sting came back, which was awesome. And it's like, I'd rather see this guy wrestle.
And he stopped dyeing his hair too.
They showed at one point they showed Ricky Steamboat backstage, and it's like, I'd still rather see Ricky Steamboat and Sting.
I bet Steamboat could still go too.
Yeah, it's the thing that killed him was they did that WrestleMania match, and they did some move wrong, and it almost knocked him out.
Yeah.
And so then the rest of the match was off because he got injured. But I mean, what are you gonna do? So then they played a video package. They said that Flair was the greatest of all time. They had a custom-made WWE World Championship belt that looked like the old NWA WCW big gold belt.
Yep, I missed that belt.
Which was the WWE
heavyweight championship. Yeah, world heavyweight championship.
Yeah, the worlds. That's what it was. It was because there was the D''S. It was the WWE World's Heavyweight Championship that was on SmackDown for several years.
Yeah.
So anyway, and WWE, by the way, and I hate this. If you go, WWE puts like the history of their belts and whatever. If you go look at that belt, that title belt from SmackDown, they say that that's the same belt that Luthez held and when he founded the NWA. Whatever.
Yeah, the lineage got a little messed up.
On.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they introduced Ric Flair, and like at this point, there's like 2 minutes left on the show.
Yeah.
And they don't do the overrun anymore.
Yeah, if they still did the overrun, you'd be like, okay, yeah.
You know it's going to end. And so I'm like, this is either going to end two ways. One, something happened to Ric Flair, or two, he's going to come out and then they're going to announce, go to WWE.com or turn on the network, and there'll be a network special for the birthday of Ric Flair live online or something. I knew it was going to go one way or the other. Well, it went the first way.
But it went in a surprising way.
But it worked. It worked. Like this was like the one point in the whole night that like I was cheering at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's like something happened and it was like
it's not because there was only 2 minutes left of the show.
Part of it was because there was 2 minutes left of the show. But so they they keep announcing him, playing his music. He's not coming. He's not coming. Finally, they cut to backstage, and you see a camera guy filming down a long hallway. And at the end of the hallway, you see a guy attacking a cameraman and dragging him over. And they cut to what that cameraman is filming. And you see it's Batista walking over to Ric Flair's dressing room. And he busts open the door. He throws the cameraman down, and you see like the door opens, and you see a table set up with a tablecloth and like some snacks and stuff sitting on it. So you're like, oh, that's getting broken. The door shuts, and you just hear like a thud, crash, thud, crash, thud, crash. The door opens, table's broken, and he's dragging Ric Flair, and Ric Flair has his hands up because Batista's dragging him by his shirt, his jacket, and it's choking Ric Flair. And Ric Flair's trying to keep this thing from choking him, and his face is like purple as he's being dragged by Batista. Like at some point, they didn't think about the fact, oh, by the way, if you grab that and pull, it might actually cut off the circulation to the guy's head. So Ric Flair's doing his best to like keep himself from legitimately being choked out here. And he gets dragged across the floor by Batista. And Batista throws him down and grabs the cameraman who's on the ground. And he says, Triple H, did I get your attention now? And so then we cut to the ring, and there's Triple H. Because you don't leave the moment something starts happening. You leave the moment it cuts back to you standing in the ring.
Yeah.
So then at this point, Triple H runs to the back. No one else. You had 30 guys on stage. No one's going to run to the back. Just Triple H. So he runs, jumps out of the ring, runs up the ramp, cuts through the crowd, goes backstage. They cut to backstage. They have a camera, ready for him. He comes through, comes running down the hallway. There's Ric Flair on the ground. He said, Rick, are you okay? Rick, everybody, somebody, get the paramedics, somebody, blah, blah. And the show goes off the air. It was very reminiscent of the finale to McMahon's Millions. If you remember that whole segment.
Yeah.
The way that went off the air was very similar.
Yeah.
But still, it was cool. And it's one of those things where it's like Ric Flair, like of all people, you would say, Ric Flair deserves a celebration. He deserves a party. But of all people who would say, you know what, use my birthday as a way to do an angle and a surprise return, he would be the guy who would get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a really cool segment. It was fun. Batista makes this return. They're going to set up this match for WrestleMania. You got surprise attack on Ric Flair, the backstage shenanigans. So that whole final 2 minutes worked, but the 8 minutes leading up to it, where they just kept killing time,
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, come on, we know the show does not go into overrun anymore. They're just like, it's Ric Flair would walk out on stage and the credits would roll, and that would have been the end of the show.
Yeah.
But still.
But I'm kind of indifferent to Batista being back. Like, it's cool, it's nice to see, but I've never been a fan of him in the ring, and I honestly don't really. I mean, if they can put enough behind it, it might be okay. But I'm not. I don't have much interest in a Batista Triple H program. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't want to see them.
I will say that, like, when Batista left the first time, it was like, no big loss. Who cares?
Yeah.
But then he came back and he did that feud with John Cena, and that was really entertaining. And they let Batista cut his own promos. They let him, like, he was allowed to create his own persona. So his persona was that he was kind of that Hollywood douche. So he did come out wearing like Izod shirts, you know, like with the 2 buttons at the top and the collar and the little, you know, you either have a guy playing polo on a horse or a little alligator or whatever, you know, and wearing like the little cabbie hat, you know, trying to be like the cool guy hanging out in the back of the set, you know, type of thing. So they let him play with the character a little bit, and he became much more of kind of this whiny crybaby, which you don't expect from a big guy like Batista. So it was very interesting, and I enjoyed the angle a lot. And he let John Cena like throw him through one of those big spotlights and stuff. So they did some fun stuff. They did some really interesting stuff when he came back. So I'm hoping that they're going to allow them, you know, just kind of be creative on their own and do their own thing. I'm really hoping this isn't going to turn out to the big giant unbeatable monster versus the big giant unbeatable monster, and all they do is growl and drool on each other, you know.
I have a feeling that it'll swing that way, but I do hope, because with Batista being in Hollywood a lot more now, and you know, the Marvel movies and all that stuff, I feel like this. I'm curious to see what that promo is going to be like. The follow up to this, I think it'll be pretty good, but I'm not looking forward to the match itself.
Here's the only my worry is Batista. If you think about, you know, Raw, if you've ever seen the video "Wrestling is Not Wrestling," you know, it makes a very good point that Raw is not a TV show about wrestling. It's a TV show about producing a TV show about wrestling, right? Because you're no longer just getting guys who come out and they fight and they go back. You get scenes backstage. You see the stuff you're not supposed to see. You see every so often they go into the production truck and they do whatever. People call for their music, and you see the backstage happenings of stuff. So it's not a wrestling show. It's a show about the making of a wrestling show. So in universe of making the show, Batista has no right to be there. He has no reason to be there. So he is literally a guy who just showed up and assaulted a man on national cable television on the highest rated weekly episodic TV show in the history of television. And they're going to have to find a way for him to be a guy who gets a match. And I'm worried that what it's going to be is next week, either Triple H is going to stand in the ring and call out Batista and they sign a match, or Batista is going to stand in the ring and call out Triple H and they sign the match. And it's not going to be this sort of, because you have to deal with the fact that Batista shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
And I don't trust WWE to acknowledge that. I just figured WWE at this point, with everything else they do with their booking, it's just going to go, okay, we need a match. It's going to be Triple H and Batista. So here's Triple H, here's Batista. And now they're going to yell at each other until it's time for the match without trying to figure out some reason for this to make sense.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that you have someone who's suspended and gets arrested for showing up, and then you have someone that's not even...
shows up and assaults the person. Yeah, and he should be technically going to jail.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I mean, Becky running in, technically she should have been escorted out of the building, and that's about all you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you shouldn't be here. We're taking you out, and now you're gone. But instead, she gets arrested, and then the guy who shows up out of nowhere and assaults and commits a crime, he's going to end up getting a match, and they're never going to bring it up again.
Yeah, yeah. But that was Raw, and
that was Raw, everybody.
At least it ended on a surprising high note. Everything else was just there, like it's been every week since we've started this.
It was not a strong show. So here's a quick question from the chat: do you think WrestleMania will be any good this year?
I think the caliber of matches have the potential to be, but the show's too damn long now. It's just that's the problem that I have with it. It's just too long.
Well, part of it used to be that you had these feuds, and the feuds built and built and built, and so you had WrestleMania there so that you could finalize the feuds. And now that they're kind of in this nonstop pay-per-view, and they're not even pay-per-views anymore, they're just network specials. They're in this nonstop deal with the network specials that nothing ends, nothing really gets resolved. You have these matches, and it's supposed to be the match that ends it, but then they do Backlash, and Backlash 9 times out of 10 are rematches from WrestleMania. So it's like the WrestleMania match didn't even matter for the overall feud. And so from that point of view, WrestleMania has become much more about the spectacle than about the actual quality. And even the spectacle has kind of fallen off somewhat. Like last year, the big spectacle was the augmented reality, and this year they used that for Royal Rumble. So do they have some new spectacle that they're going to introduce, or is it just going to be 2 guys get pyro, a bunch of people get augmented reality stuff that appears like it's floating over the crowd, Triple H gets his ridiculous entrance where they have Terminator robots and people in developmental and weird costumes
and motorcycles
or motorized tricycles in some cases, and Steve Austin will walk out at some point and give somebody the finger, and The Rock will appear on the screen and cut a promo, and all that kind of stuff that you just it's like it's coming, and it's going to be, and again it's like all the cards on the bulletin board being swapped around, who gets to fit in what spot, and the show is it doesn't, very little on WrestleMania seem to matter anymore, and it's more about just the making the event into like this big event party atmosphere than actually getting good matches or anything.
Hologram Dusty Rhodes, hologram Eddie Guerrero, hologram Lemmy from Motorhead to do Triple H's theme song. Those are my new ideas for Mania. Make it happen, Vince.
Who was the second person you said?
Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, Eddie Guerrero.
Hologram Eddie Guerrero.
Maybe they do hologram Dusty Rhodes versus hologram Eddie Guerrero in a match.
I don't think that'd be a good match. I think their styles clash too much.
I don't know. Maybe, well, if they could do Dusty Rhodes from '77 and Eddie Guerrero.
It would have to be like a bull rope match or something.
They do a 4 quarters bull rope hologram match.
It has to have a dusty finish.
47 minutes.
It has to have a dusty finish, even though it's a bull rope match. So it's basically like a no DQ thing anyway. But
Eddie Guerrero cheats, and he only touches 2 out of the 3, but he pulls off the turnbuckle at one point and hides it in his pants. So after he touches the 3rd post, then he pulls out the turnbuckle and touches that, saying he touched the 4th corner in order to win, and the referee gives him the win. But then afterwards, they have to reverse it because he didn't actually make his way over to the corner to touch the corner, because it's the corner, not the turnbuckle, that you have to touch.
So you're saying like Mike Chioda would run down and be like, no, actually he didn't touch it. No, and he's explaining it to the other ref.
They would have Dave Hebner run down and make it clear to Earl that the match didn't go correctly.
Okay. And then when they're done with that, they go and sell like unauthorized merchandise in the back of the car.
On fire, and they trap everybody inside the Coliseum with the toxic fumes from setting the entrance and the ring on fire, and everybody dies, and that's the end of WWE forever.
Well, I'm pretty
again,
sure.
hey, booking all booking
what-
credit can be given
yeah.
to Dirt at Pop Culture.
Well, I think Mania is in a like an outdoor arena again this year, so I don't think
You're
you'd
gonna
have
have
that
to burn a
problem.
lot of stuff.
Burn it down.
They can just do well. They can do like
They
they can do it like A View to a Kill with Christopher Walken. They can just have Vince in a helicopter with the machine gun and just start shooting everybody in the crowd.
Wow, this went a total. It's got dark.
It would be a much more entertaining WrestleMania. That's all.
And still, that doesn't seem as offensive as when they had Randy Orton tell Rey Mysterio that Eddie was in hell.
Or I reigned over leukemia.
Ugh.
What? My son said he's going to call the police because I'm threatening to kill people.
No, you said that Vince would.
It's a fine distinction sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to SmackDown, which was an entertaining show. And still, although awkward in many spots, but awkward in a way that is interesting and not dumb. So we had Daniel Bryan, Rowan, Stephanie, Shane McMahon. They're all in the ring for the contract signing. They've got the desk set up. They've got everything that's already laid out with the piece of paper on the pad and the 2 pens. Daniel Bryan sitting in the chair. He looks somewhat disinterested, but still cocky. They have New Day's music hits, and Kofi comes out, and Kofi gets in the ring, and he's about to sign it. And then the music hits for Vince McMahon, and Vince comes out, and Vince says that he's really happy for Kofi, and Kofi has worked hard, and Kofi has shown some great ability in the ring. And he said, Vince McMahon, it's up to him to make sure that wrestling of the highest caliber is always presented on television, which is like no
load of horse shit. I can't believe he said that.
And he said it with a straight face too, which was amazing. So then Vince announced that because he needs top caliber people that sell out the box office, because some reason now there's a box office, that he was not going to allow Kofi to be in this match, and instead he was replacing him with Kevin Owens. So then the music hits, Kevin Owens comes out, and it was weird because everybody in the crowd, like the last few weeks, it's like Kevin Owens has been this huge baby face, and everybody's excited for Kevin Owens' return. So Kevin Owens comes out, and he's a good talent. People like him. He's a bit tubby, but he pulls it off like a Bam Bam Bigelow. And so everybody's like, yeah, Kevin Owens. Oh, Kofi. But Kevin Owens, yeah, but that sucks for Kofi. But Kevin Owens we like Kevin, but Kofi. And it was really like the crowd didn't know how to react to this segment. And so Kevin Owens comes out, doesn't say a word. Daniel Bryan has not said a word. He has not reacted to anything that has happened. Kevin Owens grabs the pen, signs his name, pushes it over to Daniel Bryan. And Kofi just kind of like looks at this, and he's just like, huh. Okay. And he just turns around and leaves. And Big E and I keep wanting to call him Apollo Creed. Xavier Woods, they're both like, no, man, this ain't right. This ain't right. And you got to fight it. And you got to get back there. You got to win. And Kofi is just like, that's how it works. And Kofi just like leaves and is walking up the ramp. And the two of them are arguing. You got to get back there. You got to get back there. You got to do something about this. And Kofi just kind of like looks back and he's just like, nah, this is what always happens. Just whatever. And he leaves. And Daniel Bryan signs his thing on the contract, and there it is. The match is made. Awkward. Again, awkward. Interesting.
Yeah.
And intriguing.
Yeah.
And again, and Kevin Owens didn't say anything. Kevin Owens didn't react. He didn't try to play it off like screw you, Kofi, I'm taking your spot. And he wasn't like middle finger to Daniel Bryan, and he wasn't he didn't like try to get the crowd to play to him, but he didn't try to get them to boo him.
Yeah.
It was more like he's just a guy caught in a tough situation, but he gets his title shot, so he's going to take it. So again, awkward, interesting, and intriguing. And again, and Kevin Owens didn't say anything. Kevin Owens didn't react. He didn't try to play it off like middle finger to Daniel Bryan, and he wasn't and weird, but intriguing.
Yeah, curious to see where it goes. I kind of have an idea. I think they're just gonna stall it and have it lead to Kofi and Bryan at Mania. But
yeah, that was kind of my thought too. Is that because everybody would want this match to happen, but if you announce it for WrestleMania, then there's no match at Fastlane.
yeah,
This way they can make the match with Keven. They can say it's the Fastlane match. You know, they can. It's supposed to be for WrestleMania, but then they can bump it to Fastlane. Or they do the thing where they have Kofi versus Fastlane and it's a face Bryan and Kofi wins.
but also you're in a spot of like Kevin Owens just came back. What he's gonna have a championship match and then potentially lose that. Where does he go from there?
Back down to the mid card, where
Yeah, and I hate that too.
Back to a feud with Sami Zayn that'll last another 2 years.
Maybe that because Sami Zayn's supposed to come back. What if Sami Zayn comes back and costs Kevin Owens the title match?
Sami Zayn is a big heel.
Yeah, because he was a heel when he left. So maybe just bring it back for that.
And Kevin Owens wrestling Sami Zayn is not a bad thing.
No, yeah, they always put on fantastic matches. So maybe that's where it's leading to. But at the same time, it's I don't know. I feel like
I feel that my problem is I feel really bad for Kofi in the middle of the storyline because we don't know where it's going, you know. And again, it's WWE, so it has the potential to fall flat and be really terrible. Because they do that. So it's you know, again, it's like, are they pulling the rug out from underneath Kofi, or was this kind of the storyline that they were setting up for Mustafa Ali all along?
Yeah.
Or because Kofi got involved in the match and everybody loves Kofi, were they finally, or are they going to do a Dolph Ziggler where Kofi wins the championship, but then he loses everybody in non-title matches, and when it's not actually a title match, then he loses again and he goes back to the mid card. Because I love Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
And Dolph Ziggler's a guy who should be at the top of the card, but he's not big. He's kind of skinny. Vince doesn't really go for that. So, you know, he doesn't.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See how it all pans out.
So then they go to commercial, they come back, and the bar is in the ring, and you're like, okay, well, it's whatever. And then their opponents come out, and it's the Hardys.
Yay.
And I notice it's not the Hardy Boys, it's the Hardys, you know, because they're not teenagers who work their way through
anymore. They're men.
Yeah, exactly. Although the weird thing was, you know, Matt and Jeff doesn't age somehow, and maybe all the drugs that he has done are the kind that just keep you from never getting wrinkles. I don't know what the deal is, but or maybe there's a great skin cream in that face paint he uses, but he looks the same as he did in 1999. Matt Hardy comes out and he still has the blonde in his hair from the whole delete and everything, but he's got it slicked back and watered down like old Matt Hardy, so it looked like he had this big bald spot in the middle of his head, which just
I don't know why they. I mean, I get it, nostalgia, whatever, but I like the crazy Matt Hardy deal. I liked it before they brought it over, and
but they didn't really do enough.
Yeah, it didn't live up to its full potential. But why bring him back and pair him with Jeff? Whatever.
Because they need tag teams to compete with all elite wrestlers.
Well, you know, you got plenty of tag teams that you never push, and they're not on TV for months at a time, and they show up in random backstage segments and do nothing.
But I would much rather see any segment with the Hardys than any segment with the Usos.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
All right. They what'd they do now? They had the Hardys and of course beat the Bar because the Bar has set the bar so low everybody beats them, even though I like Cesaro and Sheamus.
I do too.
But they're never allowed to win or be any sort of threat to anybody.
Yep.
They had Aleister Black and Ricochet backstage, and Lana came in, and she was acting like the creepy old dude who's checking out schoolgirls on these guys. And then she said something about how they're nothing special and they're ordinary. And so Ricochet and Aleister Black cut two of the worst promos.
Yeah.
That did nothing.
Yeah.
And then they announced that Honky Tonk Man is going into the Hall of Fame, which
Sure.
I mean I mean he's again it goes back to the argument if Coco Beware can be in there,
anybody can.
Anybody can be in there except Brutus Beefcake. But
yeah, well, yeah.
Honky Tonk Man though, I don't know. He's a terrible human being in real life for one thing, but he's a guy who he was never a great wrestler.
Oh no,
he was entertaining with his gimmick, but his gimmick got old kind of fast and it went on forever. And it never really turned into anything other than he was just an Elvis ripoff who would hit people with his guitar and win. Which I mean that's fine for 2 years, but for your entire career.
You know why I don't like Jeff Jarrett that much? That's
but Jeff Jarrett came up with slap nuts, and that's at least worth 5 points.
All right, you got me there. If anyone does want to mail me a T-shirt, I would take a Jeff Jarrett vintage.
I've got somewhere in my closet. I bought a Slapnuts T-shirt when I went to the Thunder taping. Awesome. and of course at the time I was like a 2X, which I am not a 2X now. And
you're good. You wear mediums now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I would, if I were to put on that 2X shirt, I would look like a tub of biscuits that just got cracked open. But anyway, it's somewhere like I don't want to get rid of it,
Yeah.
But it's in a box in my closet somewhere because it's one of those things I never want to get rid of my original Slapnuts T-shirt.
Just find a way to work it into a quilt.
Yeah, actually, there's a guy here, one of the guys that I did a lot of wrestling shows with. He had me design a bunch of his T-shirts over the years, and so he had a whole bunch of shirts in a box. And his wife at the time, she actually took all the T-shirts and had a lady make a quilt out of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like. And he's, of course, he's super excited. He's like, "That's great." And I'm looking at him like, and I designed that one, 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 and like it's cool to see, something I made reworked into something, and
or just take the shirt and like put it in a frame, hang it on the wall.
Yeah, I've got a couple jerseys I should do that with too. But anyway, all right. So let's see. Oh, we got R-Truth. This was great. I loved this. I loved everything about this. This entire segment made me so happy. We had R-Truth. He came back. Carmelo's with him. He cuts this promo, and he says, "All my life, ever since I was a tiny little kid, I've always wanted to be like my hero, John Cena." And I'm thinking, you debuted before John Cena was even in.
That's the beauty of it. I do like
what was it, Universal Pro Wrestling in Southern California, whatever it was. Like you're more of a veteran than John Cena. But he was like, I'm going to live up to John Cena. He always had the open challenge, and I'm going to make sure that tradition continues. But right after we do this 7-second dance, and then he and Carmelo do the 7-second little dance off thing, and then they come back, and it's like it's so goofy and so dumb. I love it. No wonder Vince loves this guy. And
well, I mean, he's actually entertaining, especially when he can be goofy.
Yeah, and he's got charisma in that goofy sense that other guys don't have. Other guys cut jokes and they fall flat, or they don't understand timing or whatever. He is entertaining.
Yeah,
you can go out there and he cuts the jokes. He would cut the jokes that John Cena tried to cut, and John Cena got booed. He would do them, and everybody would laugh. And
if R-Truth went out and said JBL is poopy, then everyone would be like, "You're brilliant."
Yeah, and then you see signs for poopy for the next 3 weeks. So anyway, they had Andrade and what's her name, Vega, Zelina. They come down to the ring, and they like stand in the entryway. And they're like jaw jacking because they want this match to happen. Rey Mysterio's music comes out. Rey Mysterio comes running out, clocks Andrade, runs into the ring, and he's ready for the match. And he's for the referee. And so Andrade runs up, jumps in the ring, and they both start arguing with the referee. I was here first. I should get the match. I was here first. I should get the match. And I forget who it was. I don't remember if it was. I think it was Carmella maybe that said, you know what makes sense is, you know what John Cena would do is John Cena would make this a 3-way match for the title. And R-Truth is like, well, I have a dilemma because I want to go, no thank you, and go home. Which again, funny. I'm gonna do the open challenge. The guys come out for the open challenge, and I'm gonna say, you know what? Change my mind. Not as a heel, but as a baby face, cutting a joke. Brilliant. I love this guy. Anyway, so eventually they make it a triple threat match, and you know, he agrees to it, whatever. And so it basically turns into a R-Truth gets some moves in, and then ducks out of the ring and lets the other two fight and flip to the outside and do the stuff and whatever. And eventually what happens is, let's see, Andrade and R-Truth or Rey Mysterio in the ring. Andrade gets hit for the goes down for the 619. Rey Mysterio goes to hit it, misses. Andrade takes out Rey Mysterio, so R-Truth jumps in the ring to attack Andrade. Rey Mysterio knocks both of them to set up for the 619. He goes for the 619. R-Truth ducks. Andrade gets hit. Rey Mysterio flips out of the 619, and R-Truth immediately grabs him and rolls him for the schoolboy 1, 2, 3, and retains the title.
Perfect.
Yeah, again, brilliant.
Yeah.
Like you said, perfect. Like it was one of those things. Like it just worked. It made sense. Like, and it was timed brilliant. It was timed like an RKO out of nowhere. Like it was so good. I loved that. I was so happy after watching that. Like that was just it was a great setup, a great promo, a great match. Timing was great. The ending was great. I loved it.
It's almost like it's how it's supposed to be all the time.
It's almost like you should fill a 2-hour show with stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So then they cut backstage, or no, they put up a graphic and they said it was going to be Kevin Owens and Kofi versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan in a tag team match for later tonight, which is what you always do in these situations.
Yeah, where was Teddy Long?
They cut to commercial. They come back. Charlotte Flair is in the ring, and she was talking about how she loves how Vince McMahon changes these matches. She said it was the right thing to do to have Kofi Kingston be replaced with Kevin Owens by Vince McMahon, and she made it. She really like hammered. This is a Vince McMahon thing. Vince McMahon wanted this. Vince McMahon made it happen again to alleviate the heat from Kevin Owens. So talked about Ronda Rousey, talked about Becky Lynch, and she talked 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 and then she left.
Should have left a little sooner.
This is not how you fill a 2-hour show.
Nope.
A professional wrestler. Like it's fine to come out and cut a promo, but it should lead to something or go somewhere. This did nothing.
Yep.
They had Aleister Black, Ricochet versus Nakamura and Rusev with Lana at ringside, and this was a nothing match. Like I hate to say, because with those 4 guys and all that talent, this should have been a lot more than what it was.
It's kind of turned into like have Aleister and Ricochet do their main spots to show the audience the second week in a row this is what they're capable of, and it's I feel like they don't they're not really giving them a chance to do more than that. It's like, go out there, be flashy, do your thing, and then that's it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember how I want to say they went to a commercial after Charlotte. When they came back, it was Aleister's entrance, and he comes down to the ring, and Rusev and Nakamura are already in the ring.
Yeah, I got the jobber entrance.
Yeah, and I was going to say, once you see those guys get that entrance, it's so obvious they're going to lose. Like, it's just, again, you're watching a TV show about the production of a TV show. You understand what these cues mean.
Yep.
You know, obviously they're going to lose.
And
so,
they
yeah,
did.
they did exactly what you said. And Nakamura even looked like bored in the match. Like, it was you could tell that he just didn't have any pep in his step.
Yeah. He's fallen pretty far.
They had AJ Styles in the back, and he said he was happy for Roman Reigns, and big baby face smile, and the lady who was interviewing him, I can't think of her name. She
Charlie Caruso?
No, it wasn't Charlie. It was somebody else.
Oh,
Tony Braxton, but that's not right.
Go with it.
Anyway, so Tony Braxton is talking to AJ Styles and says, like, you keep losing, and you keep losing, and you keep losing. And so AJ's like, yeah, I get it. I'm in a slump.
But he's not really, though.
But he goes, I push myself to be the best. I haven't been the best, and I recognize that, and it's time for me to prove that once again, SmackDown is is the house that AJ Styles built. Which, of course, they like pan over, and there's Randy Orton standing there, and Randy Orton's like, "What did you just say? The house that who built?" And so then he just kind of like gives him this look and walks away. So obviously something's going to happen between the two of them.
Yeah. That'd be an all right match, I think.
They cut to the ring and they show Lacey Evans walk down to the ring and turn around and walk out.
That shit, or get off the pot with that, please.
What happened to Heavy Machinery? Like, I was excited for that one. Like, I was ready for the vignettes where she's trying to teach them class and manners, and
where
they go to the fancy restaurant.
That would be entertaining.
Otis is like, throwing the food in his face.
That would be perfect, actually. That would be funny and entertaining, but you can't have that.
I love that stuff. I love it, and of course they could do one where they're doing that, and then, like the Ascension, like they go to the buffet. It's like, we'll show you a place where we eat, and they go to the buffet and they're like eating, and she can't believe what they're doing, and he's like just grabbing handfuls of food out of the thing, and they turn around to talk, and you just see the Ascension's heads come over the buffet, behind them, and
their music hits though when they do that, because it's similar to like how they rise up.
exactly. Some smoke can come out or something, and then they can do like whatever WWE Backlash brought to you by Old Country Buffet. Or Golden Corral, Get your Ascension Collector's Cups at Golden Corral this week only. Something like that. Like, it'd be perfect.
It would. It's up, Vince.
Again, booking. Guys, come on, call me. All right. So we got our main event, tag match, Kofi and Keven versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Very, very clear in this match that Rowan is at a much lower level than Keven and Kofi and Daniel Bryan. Very exposed in this match. He's a nice guy. He's a good talent, but he is not a top level guy like these guys. And it was, I don't know, it seemed like a pretty standard tag match. Nothing too special. They did do. I almost expected at some point for Keven to turn on Kofi, go back to.
That'd be too soon.
Yeah,
I want a Kevin Owens like baby face run.
I agree. I'm not saying that it would have been the right move.
Yeah,
I'm just saying WWE. I expected.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
Yeah, you know what? Here, I'm going to throw this idea out there because Sami Zayn has. We talked about him costing Kevin Owens this match. What if, because he's obviously annoying, and they've worked that into TV, because guys have said before, like, yeah, Sami's just kind of relentless sometimes, and he annoys a lot of people. Put him in the stable with Bryan and Rowan. That'd be kind of awesome. I think that would work. His personality with them, and he's like kind of annoying Daniel Bryan, but like he's sort of like that lackey too.
Yeah, but then I mean, really, what that comes down to then is you have a Daniel Bryan, and then you have a tag team of Rowan and Sami Zayn, and I don't know that works.
I mean, I'm surprised that Rowan still manages to find a way to like keep coming back in these different. It's like Wyatt member, Bludgeon Brother.
Well, yeah, and that's another. They can't figure out what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Much like Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Is he the barber? Is he the man with no face? Is he? They just can't.
Just make Rowan like the son of Beefcake, and just bring it full circle.
But only if they use that name. I want to see Rowan, son of Beefcake, on the screen when he comes out. If they would do that, I'm 100%.
All right. Yeah, I'm behind it as well.
Especially if he comes out wearing the booty man tights and the arm things and starts doing the scissor cut step.
Ugh, beefcake. Ugh. Son of beefcake.
Son of beefcake. I would buy a shirt that says Rowan, son of beefcake. I would definitely
just make one, man. Just make one.
If anybody out there is a graphic designer wants to throw together a Rowan son of beefcake shirt, we will sell that on popculturenetwork.com. All right, I would definitely buy one of those. I would not buy it in a 2X though, because I can't wear that. But all right, so
mediums all around.
What they ended up doing was they had Kofi jump to the outside onto Rowan to take him out, and they had Daniel Bryan tried to do like a running. He tried to do a running knee on Owens, and Owens ducked, and he turned around and hit him with the stunner and covered him 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So Kevin Owens gets the stunner. Now that's now his move that he gets to use.
I've been waiting for the stunner to come back, honestly.
Yeah, I was just talking on Twitter. I would say about a week ago. There was a guy that I talked to on Twitter a lot. Pyrrhus Masquerade, I think is the name he goes by on there, and he was wondering, about the origins of the stunner, where it came from, because before Stone Cold was doing the Stone Cold Stunner, he did several times use like a jawbreaker, just to kind of get out of a move. It wasn't like a finisher yet. But it's like, at what point did his jawbreaker move turn into the actual stunner? And of course, it's Michael Hayes had him turn it into a finisher by adding the kick. And by adding the kick, it became a setup. So then it was, able to become a finisher. But anyway, it was kind of a fascinating conversation to get into. I'd never really thought about the origins of how it became the Stone Cold Stunner as opposed to just a jawbreaker.
Well, that's what I feel like a lot of guys need those just really quick, boom, finish moves, Some of it just seems too convoluted.
Well, and there was also an era, though, where you had a lot of guys that they would have a finisher, but they would have a secondary finisher. So there was a move that was a setup. So like Triple H had the pedigree, and he could just kick a guy and the guy would bend over. And as soon as the guy was bent over, you knew he was going for the pedigree.
Yeah.
But then he would also, like, out of nowhere, for a long time, he was doing some sort of like ankle lock where he would just grab the guy and look like he was going to break the guy's leg.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that again, it would snap out of nowhere and the guy would tap out and you got a quick finish, as opposed to the pedigree, which, like, there's a kick and the guy was bent over and the crowd would react and he'd play to the crowd. And then he'd like step on their head and he'd feed an arm and he'd feed an arm and he'd look at everybody and he'd do his thing and he'd hit his finisher. He needed something that was also quick, that would come out of nowhere, So I like when guys have more than one finisher, because you have that big move you can pull up to that really sells the end of a big match, but you also need something that can come out of nowhere and hit somebody, and that's it, and you never saw it coming.
Yeah, I hope that's not a one and done with that. I hope that he just starts using the stunner from here on, because the pop-up power bomb, he can't do that to everybody. You need, and that's the perfect thing. You want a finish move that you can actually execute on anybody on the roster. He's not going to do a pop-up power bomb to Braun Strowman. It would probably look terrible.
They would break the ring again. They would do that fake thing they do where it blows out the ring posts and then it.
Yeah. I wish video games, and they kind of do it, but I wish they would do that more often. Like, have it where, like, all right, this move isn't going to work. They have an animation where it looks like it's going to happen, but it doesn't.
Instead, it's just me going, what the hell did EA do with this franchise? I don't know how to make these. Like, I could hit the button with the timer to do a finisher, but now it's like you got to twiddle the sticks in the right direction. I can't play WWE video games anymore. All right, so anyway, so the match ended, and again, I was expecting some sort of confrontation between Kofi and Keven, and they both are in the ring staring at each other, and Kevin Owens is like, it's like, you see that? That's why I got the opportunity, because I just got the pin right there. I was able to win. And Kofi just kind of looks at him, and like Kofi wasn't agreeing with him, but he just kind of gives him this nod. Like, I see what you're doing. Like, I see you have talent. Again, I'm not happy I'm taken out of that match, but he's giving him this look like I kind of respect that you're in it. So they're not playing Kevin Owens as a heel who screwed over Kofi. They're trying to show some sort of mutual respect between the two, and Kofi, it's like Kofi's the guy who just gets screwed over, and that's part of his thing. So I'm hoping that plays into, him finally getting a shot. But again, SmackDown, much better show. The only real low, terrible point was the Charlotte promo that went on too long, and it would have been fine if it was 2 minutes, but it was like 10.
Yeah.
And then the tag match with Aleister Black and Ricochet and Nakamura and Rusev, that just wasn't.
Yeah, I think Aleister Black and Ricochet need to. I don't know why they're wanting to just showcase them in tag matches. They should just be doing their singles stuff because they're singles competitors in NXT, and it makes more sense.
Again, I think they're trying to build them as a tag team because WWE wants tag teams, because AEW is going to push tag teams, so they want to have all these tag teams on their roster.
So what? You're gonna have them win matches and then they'll get a title shot and then lose it because that's how this works. Because
it's WWE booking, that's how it works.
Sucks, man, I hate that.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is.
They should be singles. If they're there, singles.
And I even feel like Aleister Black should have been in one of those top spots against. It should have been him versus AJ Styles as a feud, not him in a tag match against middle tier guys.
Yeah.
Or even Aleister Black versus Rusev, and have Rusev as a full on babyface. And Nakamura versus Ricochet. Those are two awesome feuds.
If you gave Nakamura and Ricochet like a good 20 minutes, oh man, they'd probably tear the house down. Just let them do what they want. Have you ever seen when Nakamura came to NXT? Have you seen the match with him and Sami Zayn at one of the takeovers? Look that one up and watch just that match.
Okay.
And it'll show you what Nakamura is actually capable of when given time. And
I did watch some of Nakamura's Japanese wrestling just a couple days ago, actually, because we were talking several weeks ago about the Chinese pirate and
Kairi Sane.
Yeah, whatever. And so anyway, I'm
pretty sure she's Japanese, by the way.
Well, whatever. But anyway, I'll use the Patrice O'Neal joke. Patrice O'Neal used to say, when I say Chinese people, I'm not talking about Chinese people. I'm just talking about places in the world where Chinese people come from. But I was looking for, like, is that her gimmick? Like, that was like, is that a WWE? Did WWE take a Japanese wrestler and say, you know what, pirate? Like,
that's been her gimmick.
Yeah, and that was her gimmick.
Yeah,
I was looking that up, and so I was looking through a bunch of old Japanese shows and watched some Nakamura stuff and watched some the guy who I can't think of his name, but they made a deal for, he's going to be in TNA on Impact next month, I think it is, but I can't think of his name now. But anyway, but yeah, it made me wonder. It's like, because you see that gimmick, and it's like, I can't imagine someone in WWE said, you're going to be a pirate. Like, we tried it once with Paul Burchill, it didn't work, but with you, it's gonna work. This time
would have worked, but Vince didn't. He hadn't seen Pirates of the Caribbean yet, because the running joke is Vince is always like 20 years behind everything. Right. So right now he's living in 1999 land. So what was hot in '99? Ricky Martin, boy bands.
I was gonna say like NSYNC maybe. But you had all the Y2K, like, oh, we're gonna get a Y2K thing here. Then we're gonna get he's gonna somehow figure a way to make hackers take over the Titantron, because he's afraid.
Sammy Callahan's coming back.
He's gonna be hacking into the Titantron,
yeah,
causing like the power to go out in the middle of matches and stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, So once again, everybody, if we haven't made it clear, watch SmackDown, don't watch Raw. You can because anything important that happens on Raw,
They'll recap on SmackDown.
They're gonna recap on SmackDown. And SmackDown is a much better show. And I tell you what, I know he has detractors out there, but I don't care. Our Truth is entertaining.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out there.
Yeah. He's fun. I enjoyed it when he was it before he had his title match with John Cena? Anyway, when he was coming out like dressed as like a Confederate general and everything.
General, yes, I love that. That was great.
That was good. Yeah, I've always liked him. So now we know why Vince does too. He probably gets a pop out of Vince all the time.
And also anybody wants to make that Rowan Son of Beefcake shirt. Let me know. All right.
I would wear that.
That's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Nickelback Nate, do you have your tagline?
Pants off, dance off.
There we go. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.